And we're rolling. Hello. Today is Wednesday, the 24th of October, and here is your tarot reading. So let me repeat the question. So you had recently found out you're pregnant at 36 weeks, and it was a big surprise to you. And now you're concerned, your primary concern is, will the dad be a part of the baby's life or not? And that's it. And then, so the rest is your reading. So these are the animal cards that you picked, and this is the called the Secret Language of Animals by Chip Richards, and he's my favorite oracle card artist. Jimmy Manton is the artist here. So I like to draw an oracle card at the beginning of the reading because it sets the tone for the reading. And then I also have a tarot card here. So the number, the 9-digit number you gave me, I used to draw both of these. So the tarot card, I use that number in a way with numerology, and I like to save the tarot card to the very end to sum up the reading. So this is the card you chose. I'm going to put this one aside, and I counted the deck earlier to find it, and I counted this one out earlier too. So let's see what the theme, let's see what the animal card gives us as a theme for the reading. So white pelican. So ease, optimism, grace, and cooperation. Ease, optimism, grace, and cooperation. It's a really nice thing to have for this reading, I think. So we'll think about that as we have the reading, but this actually already bodes well for the question you've asked, because the concept of cooperation is what you're looking for from the father. So grace, optimism, and ease. So yeah, this actually bodes well already. So let's get your reading started. I'm going to pull 3 cards just for a foundation for the situation here. That's how I usually like to start out. That's interesting. Okay. So these are interesting cards to pull for your situation. So I can't imagine what it would be like to discover being pregnant at 36 weeks and having so little time to prepare for this. But this is kind of the moon. The moon is really interesting. So as a foundation where you're coming from here, the moon is about often about hidden feminine knowledge. And what I mean by that is that the moon, there's a single face of the moon that always faces the earth, and then there's a dark side of the moon that we never see. So the moon is associated with feminine energy and feminine wisdom a lot. So it's really interesting to pick this card up because it's about basically, sometimes it's about women's intuition. It's about knowledge that has been hidden from view. So from a pregnancy, I feel like what the information that this is giving in the reading is that although you said in the asking of the question that you were very surprised, I'm wondering if there was something deep down that you were feeling that was indicating that something like this evolution was happening. Evolution is a part of this card as well. Like you can see that there's like a crayfish here that's sort of evolving out of water onto land, like primeval evolution. And there's a path to the promised land here between the 2 towers. And then there's like these 2 dogs, these 2 beasts that the creature has to pass between in order to make his evolution. So that sort of represents challenges along the path here. So I would say that there's definitely been some challenges for you along the way and over the last couple months. But I feel like there's definitely some some sort of hidden knowledge from you, and it doesn't necessarily. Well, yeah, obviously you're a woman, but it could be that this could represent knowledge coming from someone else too, like female in your life. That's what I'm getting from this card, though. That there's definitely some hidden intuition, hidden knowledge that has been building over the recent days, or the recent months, I would say, recent months. Now, the next card that you have is the Page of Pentacles. So Pentacles are the suit of there's a suit of the material world, of your basic needs, of things like livelihood, your ability to care for yourself. So I don't know what's going on in this part of your life right now, but the pages are beginners. So in the realm of, of the material plane, there's a beginning happening. And I don't know if that means that there's something with your household where you're having to start something anew, or if there's something that you are maybe not so good at, something you're having to deal with respect to your household, your livelihood, your the material things in your life, your possessions, where you're not really experienced in that area, where you're just starting out, you're just trying to figure something out. So I'd say that's another part of the situation here that that's going on right now. And then where you're moving towards is like, well, I think this is the new journey after the birth, right? So you've got the Fool. The Fool is, this is a huge time of your life because you've gotten two major arcana cards here, and you've got a court card. You didn't get any of the minor cards in the deck, which are, correspond to the suits and the numbered cards in the playing card deck. You've got all big cards, right? And of course, this is a hugely significant time of your life, so this makes sense. So the Fool is a card that people really look forward to getting in the deck. So the Fool is about starting a new journey. So it's the card 0. It's the first card amongst the major arcana here. And if you look at the card, he's about to set forth on this new journey, and he's carrying a wand. So the wand represents, there's a suit of wands in the tarot, which we haven't drawn one of yet. And it represents things like passion and will and creativity. And so, creating a new life is the ultimate form of creativity. So there's definitely an element of passion and will and desire in this card. So, being about to be a new mom, this is probably bearing part of, all of those wishes and desires that you have for your child, right? And if you look at the wand, there's a bag attached to it, and a lot of people look at that bag and they look at it, on a grand scale. You could think of it as bringing your karma with you into this lifetime. Given that this is about your upcoming birth, that and your upcoming child, I would say that what this represents too is the fact that now that you're becoming a mother, this is about bringing all of your life experience to begin a new journey. It's reminding you that you have a lot of life experience and a lot of wisdom and a lot of stuff to draw on as you start this new journey that you're bringing along with you. And I would say that it came up as reverse, and the way I read reversals is that reversals are blocked energy. They're stagnant energy, which translates into basically something being tough or something taking a long time. And of course, I think this makes sense, right? That most human beings would say that, raising a child is one of the hardest things people will do in life. So, no surprise there. It's going to be a tough journey, but this is a really auspicious card to get. So it's almost like saying nothing. The saying that like being a mom is going to be tough. But the fact that you got the Fool out of the deck, that that you have this auspicious card for this new part of the journey, it looks really good. So I would say the toughness is not a bad thing. It overall looks good. So now let's start looking. I'm going to draw more cards now, and I'm going to look at the relationships here. So what I think I'll do is I'll draw 3 cards. I'll draw a card for you, a card for the father, and then a card for the baby. And and I know your focus is about, the relationship between the father and the baby, but of course, every interaction that the father has with the baby, it will be through you, right? I mean, you're going to have to cross paths. You're going to have to make the appointment. So I think it would be appropriate to draw both, just to see how the logistics is going to work through all of this. So let me get those cards drawn here. So draw one for you. Okay, let's draw one for the father. Now let's draw one for the baby. Okay, this one. Okay, so now let's draw a card that represents the relationship between you and the father. And let's draw a card that represents the relationship between the father and the baby. Okay. So there we go. Let me get all of these turned over now. Oh, we're stuck to the rubber mat. Okay, that's nice. Interesting. Oh, well, that actually bodes pretty well. Okay, so what I was going to say, actually, I thought I forgot to say this earlier. So when you said, I think the way you phrased the question, you phrased it in more of a yes/no way. Let me look and see. The question, the way you phrased it was, will the dad be a part of the baby's life or not? And, tarot, in general, tarot is not really good with yes/no questions, right? Because everybody has free will. For instance, I don't know if you've told the father or not yet, and I'm kind of suspecting that you have not, just from the cards. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But you could choose never to tell him, right? So the yes or a no, would that be helpful if you ultimately decide not to tell him for some reason? Or there's so many variables, right? Where a yes/no really just doesn't have adequacy. And in fact, tarot usually reads the energy of the moment. So you could change your mind about telling him in a few days. And so like the yes or the no also might not be that helpful to you in the long run. So that's why I structured the reading this way. That's all I wanted to say, that, since I'm not going to give you a yes or a no exactly. So the energy of you in this reading, you got the Page of Wands. So you've got a wand, which I was alluding to over here, which is interesting. And we already talked about pages. So pages are beginners, they're debutantes. So in this instance, your energy between the three of you is going to be like starting this creative journey, right? Wands are about creativity. If they're about a job, if in a job reading, wands would be looking at a job as if it were not just a job, but your passion in life. Pentacles would be your job, meaning what you do to earn money, but not necessarily what you love. Wands would be a job where it's like, money aside, it's something that you absolutely love doing. So I think, especially echoing what we saw here in the Fool earlier, I think actually this bodes well for you. I think I'm going to make a guess that this is your first child. And I think you're going to basically grow to love being a mother. And I think, being a page, this is like going to be the first time, but I feel like, the way this is representing your relationship to motherhood, it's going to be basically, you're going to be passionate about it. You're going to love doing this, and you're probably going to need a lot of help, because I think this is your first kid, because it's the Page. So it seems like that's the kind of card that you would get if you're just starting out to do something. But ultimately, this will become a passion for you. So, you're not going to just be a mom where, it's just a normal part of life. I would say because that you've got the wand of all things, I think this is going to be something that you're going to be absolutely passionate about. You're going to be passionate about raising your child. passionate about making their life as good as you possibly can make it, that kind of mom, rather than just sort of like maybe a lackluster mom, or a mom who maybe is less involved or is more tied up in career matters than parenthood and stuff like that. So I think that like indicates that there's a strong indication of that, of your being strongly attracted to motherhood, I'll say. So now the energy of the father, the reason why I was saying that I think that you haven't told him yet is that I think it's this news is going to rock his world. You got the Tower. So the Tower in tarot, basically, number 16, a few things happen. Like if you look at tarot as a journey, 16 it's another major arcana card. So it's, for him, this is a very significant, this whole notion of being a father is very significant in his life. And it's at the point of a journey where what's coming up on the Tower is that there has been a lot of transformation in life, like huge transformations where you have to kind of like give something up and you have to kind of be transformed into something else. So I would say that he's already had some sort of transformative parts of his life where, I don't know, whether maybe something, he was very immature and he suddenly had to become mature, or he was, what else? Like, I don't know, could maybe a new career, or it could have been anything, but something transformative happened in his life. So like within the last year or something like that. And so, he's been going through some times, he's had to reinvent himself or do something and make some change and transformation. And so what I think fatherhood is going to be for him is that, okay, although he's had some change and some development going on in his life, at this point, this is going to be sort of earth-shattering news for him. So the Tower, if you look at the way the picture is, there's a crown up here, which usually represents success. So I think he had probably, in part of his transformation, he'd probably sort of like achieved some sort of, excuse me. I think, he'd probably achieved some level of success. Like, so if it was a career thing, some sort of success in career. If it was a transformation just to like, I don't know, like shed an old set of friends who were a bad influence and and to find a new set of friends, there would have been success in that. So I would say that there's some, there's been some positive development. And so basically the Tower has been created, but now something comes into his life and just kind of destroys it and shakes it down to the foundations. So the Tower, these people are falling to earth out of it and whatnot, and there's like, a divine lightning strike that pulls the crown and burns the Tower. This news for him is going to shake him down to the foundations, and it's basically going to it's going to be earth-shadowing, and I think it's going to be basically making him have to rebuild his life in a way. So this could have all sorts of meanings, right? And we're probably, fatherhood is going to, it's a huge deal. So it's probably multiple aspects of his life that he's going to have to rebuild in a new way with this new piece of news. Now, let's look at the card that represents the relationship between the two of you. So the Knight of Cups, I don't know, because the way you phrase stuff, I'm just going to have to guess, will the dad be a part of the baby's life or not? Since you kind of said it in that impersonal way, it sounds like you don't currently have a romantic relationship with this person. However, the Knight of Cups indicates that there could be an emotional connection between the two of you. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a romantic relationship, but I think the relationship is good because there's good potential for a good parenting relationship here. So the Knight of Cups, so knights, as opposed to pages, they're the next person or archetype amongst the court cards. So pages are just starting out. Knights are now sort of the adolescent energy, and knights go on adventures. Knights are seekers. Knights are learners. So basically, the indication of the Knight of Cups between the two of you is it bodes well. It basically, the cups are the suit of the emotions, they're also the suit of the element of water. So basically, there will be some exploration, some learning on an emotional level between the two of you, and it's right side up. I think it'll be a positive uh, journey between the two of you. So this is actually really good. And also, there's excuse me, there's a big air element in the Knight of Cups too, because he's got the two wings on his helmet, and he's also has wings on the heels of his armor, and so air is often about communication. So I think combined with the cup and the suit of the cups, that I think you guys will find what you'll be learning together energetically is that you'll be learning how to communicate on an emotional level. So like if for instance you weren't able to communicate about needs in the past, maybe as a part of this relationship now as parents, you will be able to communicate about your needs. You'll be able to communicate about your emotions and what you guys need from each other and things like that. So this looks really good. It could bode for a potential relationship outside of just parenthood, because cups are the suit of love, but I think we need a longer reading to explore that. I don't know that you've told him yet, so we can, there's no need to go that far into the future, but I think there is an indicator that it could bode well for just a relationship above parenthood too. So let's just keep that like that. Now, let's look over here at the dad and then the baby, and then the relationship between the dad and the coming baby. So the Five of Swords over here is a really interesting card to get for the energy of the baby in the relationship. So this child has not been born yet. This is just so odd. I might draw an extra card to clarify it, but let's talk through it. So you've got the Five of Swords here. You've got basically you have in the image you've got a person carrying three swords, and then there's two on the ground, and there's two figures in the background. So the foreground figure has just been victorious, and then the two background figures are they're sad. Like one person, like the smallest of the figures, the farthest away of the figures, is actually crying into his hands, and so they've just been defeated. So basically, like every tarot card has a light and a dark side. So the light side is that the character in the foreground, or the positive or sort of favorable side, is that the character in the foreground wins, right? The dark side of the card is that when there's winners and losers, being on the you have to remember that there are consequences, and that there's like being on the losing side actually kind of sucks, right? That's why these people are so distraught, the people who've just lost the battle. Swords are the element of air, and as we talked about with the wings over here, air is like really a lot about communication. So the way I read this card in terms of the energy of the baby is that there will be a lot of communicative battles. There will be like this. I think this kid is going to be the one who always wants his way. So I think, or her way. I would say that this is kind of an indicator that this child might be more difficult than average in terms of like, what's the word in terms of parenting? I don't know parenting language so well. It's the word's not coming out for me, but it's that kind of like the child who might be prone to more temper tantrums, always wanting to get their way so that they can be the winner in the battle. And then, the two figures in the background here might represent you and the dad, like the parents, where it's like, you've got to make sacrifices because the kid is making a lot of demands, and they're going to get the kid is going to get its way, right? So so that might be, there's a difficulty here in the parenting. However, like, remember, you're going to be good at parenting. So maybe this is like maybe in the universe, right, it's a good sign because you'll be able to handle it. He might not be able to. We'll see. But actually, the King of Pentacles is such a good card to get for the relationship between the child and the father. So we talked over here that the Pentacles are about they're about livelihood, about the material plane. So when it comes to things like like the first thing I would think of is like child support. The King of Pentacles, kings are authority figures of the court. So, it goes page, knight, queen, and then kings. So kings have masculine energy and masculine sort of mastery over the suit. So in terms of pentacles, it looks like, the relationship between father and daughter or son is that, there will be definitely some stability in terms of the material plane. So that could mean dwelling, right? So I don't know if from a custody perspective what your thoughts are, but if the child lives with the father part-time or for whatever, the living situation I think would be good, right? Good from a financial perspective, good from a material meeting the child's needs. That would be really good. So from a child support perspective, the King of Pentacles would be able to provide, because like livelihood and meeting material needs is something that the king can do. The king has mastery over that realm. So what I would say is that, it looks like the dad will be involved in the kid's life. The King of Pentacles means that he will be able to be a provider in some way. So, but a provider some way in the material plane. So the card here focuses on, material needs. It's not a cup, so it's not focusing on emotional needs, right? We're just getting the fact that, he'll be able to contribute in terms of material needs. And that seems to be the idea that has popped out here. So the fact that what's lacking here, the cards don't say anything about emotional things, so how emotional supportive he would be to the child. They don't say anything about swords, which would be mental energy, so communication, but also mental energy. So basically helping the child with school, with things like, figuring things out, anything, mental pursuits. That's not mentioned. And then in terms of wands, like helping the child's creativity, will, things like that. Those things are just silent, but you've got something really positive. So I think that's really a favorable sign. So the question is, from a yes or no perspective, I think it'll be about your actions, right? About how he needs to find out, obviously. And then you need to put a plan together. So, but right now it looks like there's good, if you choose to have the conversation and work something out, it looks good. It looks like he could be a provider figure for the child. So that's great. I don't think there's anything else I'm going to draw here. I think we're going to look at your card next. So just to kind of sum up the reading, this either sums up the reading or kind of usually resonates with the other cards or kind of gives a conclusion. So let's see what you drew. Oh, so you drew the Miser card. So this is actually the Four of Pentacles. This is about stability in terms of the material plane again. So we've got all these pentacles here. So the Four of Pentacles, so four numerically are about stability. It takes 4 legs to make a table or a bed or a chair or whatever, and that's like this, stools with only 3 legs are not quite so stable. So 4 in tarot is usually a number that's about meaning stability. And then the pentacles are again about the material, about material needs, the material plane. So that means dwelling, food to eat, clothing to wear, your basic needs in life. So I think perhaps that is one of the concerns. I would say that since this came up, I think like when you talked about, is the father going to be involved in the child's life? I think what you're actually asking is less about like, is the father going to help with homework or going to help with I don't know, like babysitting or whatever. I think what you're actually asking is basically what I've been talking about in terms of the material needs, because that came up is like the card that you pulled. So I think that's probably your major concern, is about like material stability in terms of like meeting the child's needs through money and whatever else that the child might need. And it bodes well. So I think this is a really positive reading. and we'll revisit the pelican. So it was about ease, optimism, grace, cooperation. I see really positive cards for you that you got. So I think for you, despite this sort of huge challenge that has surfaced in your life, I think you'll be able to meet it with grace and ease. I think easier. I mean, it's not going to be easy to be a parent, but what I mean is, like, you know, if someone else were in your situation, it would not be as easy for them. I think you're going to be bringing something to this that a lot of other people couldn't bring to the situation, to be, you know, to succeed at this and to be a great parent. And then from a cooperative aspect of the reading, it looks like you will get cooperation from the father, but it's going to shake him down to his foundation, right? It's going to be a big shocker for him. But, you know, people get over things. So, and he'll, you know, this is tarot is about the present moment, and this is what we're writing in the present moment. And then as time passes, you know, things change. So yeah, that I think is all I have to say. I hope this was helpful to you, and take care and good luck in this huge journey you have before you.